Have you ever loved someone so deeply that you chose to disappear from their story completely? When Brian Wilson died on June 11, 2025, the world paused. Radio stations lit up with Beach Boys tributes. Paul McCartney called him music's greatest innovator. His legacy was everywhere. But the one voice no one expected to hear, his ex-wife, Marilyn Rovell, broke 45 years of silence with a letter that has now changed everything we thought we knew about music's most haunted genius. She didn't go on TV. She didn't write a memoir. She didn't sell her story. She wrote a handwritten letter, not to the public, but to their daughters. Delivered just 6 days after Brian's death, this quiet 2-page message reveals something far more powerful than any tribute ever could. What it really meant to love Brian Wilson and to survive him. This wasn't the story of a bitter ex-wife. This was the final testimony of someone who watched a mind unravel from the inside. Marilyn's words show us that the man behind Pet Sounds and Good Vibrations was not just a visionary, but someone fighting a war no one else could see. She described it simply. I used to hope Brian would overcome the chaotic world he was drowning in. But then I realized it was something no one from the outside could save. What she reveals in that letter turns the sun-drenched California sound into something darker, more human, more heartbreaking. Because while we were falling in love with his melodies, Marilyn was watching the man she married dissolve into paranoia, hallucinations, and silence. Picture this. While Brian was composing hits in the studio, he was weeping. While he was pushing recording boundaries, he was hearing voices. And during the years when the world was calling him a genius, he was sometimes spending weeks in bed, unable to move, convinced the air conditioning was talking to him. Marilyn was only 17 when she married Brian. He was already breaking down, already slipping away. She raised their daughters almost entirely on her own, while managing a partner who at times couldn't even feed himself. She wasn't just a wife. She became his caretaker, his protector, his shield. And then she left, quietly, without scandal, without a single interview. For over 4 decades, she erased herself from his story, until now. What makes her letter so devastating isn't just what she saw, it's what she endured in silence. She describes dressing him when he couldn't, leaving food by the bed that went untouched, telling her young daughters that their father couldn't come out for Christmas because his mind wouldn't let him. And still, she never spoke. Until the day he was gone. Her letter explained why she disappeared. Leaving Brian wasn't leaving a marriage. It was accepting that I couldn't save someone drowning in his own mind. She watched the world turn him into a myth. She didn't try to interrupt, but she also knew they weren't seeing the full picture. What makes this moment so rare is that Marilyn didn't want attention. She didn't want revenge. She just wanted their daughters to understand, to know who their father really was. Not just the icon, but the man, the lost, fragile soul behind the harmonies. And here's what will stop you in your tracks. When Brian's second wife, Melinda, died in 2024, Marilyn somehow knew. Without saying a word publicly, she understood that Brian would start to slip for good. His dementia accelerated. He forgot Melinda had died. He asked for her repeatedly. In his final days, reality had completely faded. And so Marilyn did one last thing. She wrote a private letter to Brian. She knew he might never comprehend it, but she had to say it, to tell him that despite everything, the years they shared still mattered, that she hadn't forgotten, that she still cared. The letter was placed on the piano where Brian had written his earliest songs. It was, in every sense, a goodbye only he would ever receive. And in that letter, and in her final words, Marilyn gave the world something no documentary, no record label, no biographer ever could. The unvarnished truth. Brian Wilson didn't just create music, he escaped into it. And the price of that escape was never really being able to come back. Marilyn ended her letter with a line that now echoes in the minds of everyone who knew the music, but not the man. The harmony he created in sound. I hope it's finally found its way into his soul. If you grew up with God Only Knows, or In My Room, or Don't Worry. Baby, maybe now you'll hear them differently. Because now we understand the pain behind the beauty, the silence behind the sound, and the woman who stayed silent until it mattered most.